We're now in a sacred site called Bostektir. If we look around, what do we see here? Water, flowing water, stones, and mountains. If we look carefully at the stones, we notice that they have been keeping lots of information.
Tektir sözü.
Word tektir means small flat land in high mountains. It seems this flat ground among the mountains played an immense role in preserving the heritage of diverse cultures. Stones lying in the ground keep messages from many centuries, and they seem to mean, if you need, open me. There's a traditional concept: if you talk to stones, they also listen and reveal their secrets. According to archaeologist Kubat Tabaldiev, in Bostektir, there are archaeological monuments from the ancient Stone Age till the late Middle Ages. They include stone instruments and petroglyphs and graves belonging to the early Iron Age and Middle Age. Through these archaeological monuments, it's possible to get information about the traditions, especially about the funeral ceremonies of the Kyrgyz people from ancient times to this day. Agina Research Center would add to the opinion of the prominent archaeologists that not only archaeological monuments but also mazar pilgrims and ritual practitioners preserve and maintain ancient traditions. Today we came to the Bostektir Mazar with a group led by the healer Mombekova Bibisada. Bibisada has visited this mazar for many years. Here she heals people. Also, she comes when her burden gets heavy, and she purifies herself here and gets relieved. The first ritual the Gardens performed in this mazar was Zikir Chalu. Mazar pilgrims are often blamed by mullahs and other followers of Islam who consider themselves to be pure Muslims. The most powerful accusation is that people who practice mazar pilgrimage commit shirk, meaning they add partners to Allah and commit unforgivable sin. You are witnessing zikir performed in Bostektir. There's not a single person who in their words or minds doubts Allah. The word zikir came with Islam from the Arab world. Translated from Arabic, zikir means remembering and commemorating. According to the mazar worshippers, zikir loudly testifies to the oneness of God, praising God and asking for the acceptance of the mazar pilgrims' prayers. Zikir always comes in the form of singing, and one zikir does not resemble another one, word for word. But the core always stays the same, praising God and asking for blessings from God. The Bisada started burning candles made out of oil-soaked cotton wool, shamjaru. Shamjaru is a ritual connected to fire. From ancient times, people considered fire to be sacred and they worshipped it. They believed that fire was also a living thing, just like flowing water. Because of this belief, people never step over fire or spit on fire. And the saying, "May the fire in your hearth never die out," emerged. Sham may be burned at home and at sacred sites as well. When the sham is burning, all the participants of the rituals make their wishes silently. If the sham burns till the end, then people's wishes will come true. But if the sham dies out in the middle, then people may try another time. This ritual is performed, for example, for the purpose of asking for children from God for infertile women, because sham is fire, and with the help of the fire we call for angels. Some practitioners believe that we can establish a connection with God only through these angels. From ancient times, people believe that shamjaru rituals served as a bridge for passing from the visible world to invisible world. Why do people need such a bridge? For example, a person who has been sick for a long time burns sham when he cannot find a cure for his illness. The sham you are witnessing is being performed in a nature with the accompaniment of Quran. It's how the ancient ritual has evolved in the 21st century. Indeed, some people may call it primitive old paganism. But in our understanding as well, in comprehension of thousands of Mazar pilgrims, a living and developing thing can never be stagnant. Therefore, this belief cannot be counted as an old paganism. Scholars call the mixture of ancient and modern beliefs syncretism. We prefer to use phrase synthesis of ancient beliefs with Islam to define the harmonious spiritual and religious system of the Mazar's pilgrims. This kind of rituals is an example of a collective trance. Participants of the ritual got into a special condition and sang together. As researchers, we cannot say for certain that this ritual helps practitioners to foresee the future or to heal people. We cannot define in details the usefulness of the ritual. However, we can say for certain that Mazar pilgrimage is a form of sacral behavior, and therefore the spiritual component here is very strong. A lot of what people bring to and take away from Mazars is in the domain of faith, miracle, and hope, in the interaction with the domain of the desired and imagined. Perhaps one of the important functions of Mazar is in supporting the spiritual component of the human soul. This, in turn, ensures the integrity of man, his mental health, and peace of mind. Zikr would be performed by the Prophet and his followers after the Qubtan namaz, dusk until dawn at 8:16 p.m. and Baghandat namaz down to sunrise at 5:13 a.m. The reason performing zikr is to ask Allah for people's piety, peace and fertility in the world, and the youth to be worthy. For these purposes, zikr would be performed. We came for a pilgrimage to Tektir Mazar. We worship only one Allah, and we ask Him to accept our pilgrimage. When we perform zikr, it's always accompanied by the Quran, and we ask for abundance and peace for people. I wish that our young people will follow traditional moral principles. The reason for us to perform zikr is to ask for peace and for the unity of the people. We came to the sacred ground respecting its sanctity. We came to this Tektir Mazar and performed zikr in order to praise the holiness of Tektir. We ask for well-being for people from God and from the spiritual honor of the Mazar. May there be peace for people. Bibisada Mumbekova is one of the well-known healers who follow Kyrgyzness. She usually invites her patients to visit these sacred sites and perform certain healing rituals here. First, we pray to Allah, and second, we make pilgrimages to sacred sites. God created us. I was born after my mother spent 7 nights in Tektir. I visit Mazar and worship here because I grew up here. I've been told that Tektir was a prophet, a Sahaba, a follower of the Prophet Muhammad, and one of the 7 siblings. They were Tektir, Boterik, Babata, Pachata, Shamshakhalata, Arslanbop Mazar, and their uncle Tastopia. The 7 brothers fought with infidels, and when they died, their graves stayed here and the infidels couldn't find them. Tektir came here to escape infidels, and when he leaned to the stone, it melted away, and the front side of the stone was covered with web. That is why the infidels couldn't find him, and Tektir stayed alive there.
Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. Amantu billahi.
In human experience, stones were used for healing most of the time. Recently, the famous medical center of Dr. Nazarlev developed the widely used methods of tashtarata to complete a treatment of drug addicts by performing rituals on the stone's father's side. As you have witnessed, at the Bostektir side, a connection with stones is being established through Islam. Here, the action is being practiced in the open air. That indicates the close connection between a person and site in traditional Kyrgyz culture. As you can see from Bibisada's clothing, some followers of Kyrgyzchılık wear white clothing. Kyrgyzchılık followers usually explain, a regular person does not wear white, we are different people. For example, when a person dies, he or she is put on white clothes. It's the same with us, we communicate with spirits and meet mazar honors like Aktelak, young white camel, Umayni, the patron of women in childbirth, and the great hero Manas, 40 associates. We communicate with them by counting beads. There's a strong concept in Kyrgyz culture that white is the sign of purity and dignity. A widely used proverb says, the white bends but never breaks. Some other Mazar visitors connect the idea of wearing white clothes with Islam. According to them, people go to Mecca and come back wearing white clothing because it means I visited the other world and I'm connected with the spirits in afterlife. Indeed, some may agree with this opinion, but others might oppose it. Aigina believes there could be many interpretations of a single phenomenon, and that every person has a right to find and follow his or her truth in life. We would like to point out that wearing white clothing is another tradition that unites Kyrgyzchılık, Kyrgyzness, and Musulmanchılık, Muslimness. Usually, Mazar pilgrims try to contribute to the sacred site preservation, protection, and maintenance. They clean the surroundings and open the springs to let the water flow outside. And sometimes they build ziyarkhana, pilgrimage house, for the convenience of pilgrims. Then other pilgrims provide the house with blankets and dishes. The pilgrimage house, which you are now seeing, was built by Bibisada Mumbekova with her followers, Shakirs. And now it has turned into a monument to recent history. And this new house was built by a resident of Mamatbek village. The person who is coming out of the old ziyarkhana is Aytimchi, a person capable of foretelling the future, Kalbibu. She is a woman who is preserving one of the traditional sacred skills and developing it. Her husband, King Ishbek, is a traditional mullah. He continues his ancestors' practices and also follows Muslim rules. The family of King Ishbek Moldo and Kalbibu is a great example of how harmoniously Kyrgyzchılık and Musulmanchılık can come together. Aytimchılık is a special sacred ability. It is a gift from God to people. And Aytimchi must not doubt God. God gives Aytimchılık in different ways. Sometimes God whispers to one's ear, sometimes God gives dreams, and some see dream visions. This is a marvelous ability given by God. You know, Saint Khalgul was a great Aytimchi, and in most recent times, Vanga was an extraordinary Aytimchi. I help people to clarify things, to understand what they need to know, to overcome difficulties. We reflect together upon their problems. I'm able to do that with God's blessing and support. God always directs me. When we came to Bostektir, the weather was sunny, but now it got cloudy as you see. As the great Kyrgyz epic Manas says, it's cloudy in the daytime and fair at night. It seems like Almanbet is proving himself. Almanbet was a Jaichi, the hero of the great epic Manas, who possessed the ability to change weather. When we were making a movie in Nildata Gorge, the open sky became cloudy and it was going to rain. The movie makers had to have sunny weather to complete the process. And I asked the practitioners in a joking manner, what about our forefathers' skills of Jaichalik? They started discussing something and then performed a praying ritual to keep the weather from turning bad. It could have been coincidence, but there was sunny weather for a short time, enough to finish shooting the movie in the gorge. I've become interested in the ability to influence weather given to some people today. King Ishbek Moldo shared his vision. A person who is able to stop or start the rain in places where it's extremely dry, it's called a jaichi. They would foresee the rain or the change of weather and warn the people. In 70 years under the Soviet Union, ancient Kyrgyz traditions and Islam were suppressed. That is why there are almost no jaichi now. But since God gives plants, animals, and people special powers, I pray to God and I believe jaichi will emerge. We do not doubt the existence of God by practicing jaichili. We were gifted by Allah. One cannot become a jaichi studying somewhere. This is a sacred power given by God. Visiting Bostektir Mazar, we feel like we breathed the flavor of ancient times and felt the energy of ancient cultures. Natural mazars like Bostektir are phenomena of nature and do not have such limiting characteristics as nationality, race, or religious orientation. They are cosmopolitan by origin, and this obviously affects the character of sacred sites pilgrimages. Our research shows there is a complicated but non-contradicting combination of very diverse cultures and religions in sacred sites practices. This simultaneously ancient and modern systems of worship reflects a flexible mechanism of coexistence of diverse cultures and religions. With such a mechanism, mazar pilgrimages can exist for centuries. Enduring for centuries, mazar become depositories of natural and cultural diversity and heritage accumulators of knowledge. The wonder and miracles that happen on sacred sites help even very rational people overcome the limitations of linear thought and extend the boundaries of reality. Mazar help us look beyond the mind and consciousness into the abyss of the human unconscious.